One of the least pleasant parts about being a manager is having to have those conversations, the difficult conversations. These are the times when you have to sit someone down and tell them to their face that they screwed up. But you know, a significant part about what makes these conversations difficult is your fault. Stop making it weird. Let's get going. Look, I get it. Having to sit someone down and tell them they screwed up, that's never fun. If they care about their performance, it can feel like a blow to them. And if they don't care about their performance, or they don't think they screwed up, if you're not careful, it can turn into an argument. None of that's a good time. But I'm not saying you're making it weird by having the conversation. No, sometimes as a manager, that's your job. Sit people down and set them straight and let them know they need to adjust. What I'm saying is you made it weird by not doing your job before it got to this point. On one of my first teams, I had these two employees that did not get along. When they would interact, they would often be shouting. It was no good. Me, not knowing any better at the time, thought, well, I'll sit them down and we'll work out the differences because I want my team to get along. And we did that, and it sort of worked for like 3 days. And then it all came back, and this time they came to me to complain about each other. And I realized real quick, this is a triangle I do not want to be in the middle of. So I was thinking about the situation, and I thought, you know, they are not required to get along. They're not required to like each other. They're just required to work together. And it's up to me to define what that means on my team. And that is when I came up with 2 rules that I have maintained on my teams ever since. Rule 1, being louder does not make you righter. You can raise your voice when it's hard to hear, when there's a lot of noise, but not otherwise. And 2, we call each other by our preferred names. And before you think this is some woke rule, though I do apply it to all people equally, it more often comes into play, as it did in this case, when, say, a coworker's name is Bob, and you choose to refer to them as asshole. Nah, not on my team. We don't do that. Once I laid these rules out to my team, things got a lot better. You know? It wasn't the least bit awkward or difficult. It was perfectly clear. You break these rules enough times, and I'll remind you when you do. You don't get to be on my team anymore. How do we know that this is the way that it's supposed to be? Look around. Man, why do we love going in nature so much? Because we have the freedom to explore with no walls and no ceiling and no boundaries and no rules. Yeah, but that's not really the way it is it? No, Mother Nature's got plenty of rules. And she's not the least bit shy about reminding you if you break them. If I come up here and there's a storm and I didn't bring a coat, I'm gonna get cold. And if I push too high, too hard, too fast, and my body's not ready for it, I'm gonna get exhausted. And if I'm not careful about what I put my weight on, I'm gonna fall. And there's nothing awkward about that conversation. And you know what? Mother Nature doesn't care how hard I try, how bad my day was, or how much I think I deserve to reach the summit. Nope. But it's exactly that clarity that makes Mother Nature so nice. Lets me know what I can and can't do, where I can and can't go. And then I know that within those boundaries, I can see just how high I can climb. Be just as clear as Mother Nature and give your team that same joy. Whew. So, as a manager, your job is to make it clear what is and is not acceptable. And that's how you get yourself a high-performing team. The cool thing is, you rarely have to rush into this. Most issues that need to be defined that are emergencies, there's already a law or a policy that addresses them. A lot of the things you're going to have to address are more of the edge cases, the things that are more specific to your team or environment. And those you can usually take a moment to consider. They could be something like people keep showing up to meetings late, or they forgot to restock the supply cabinet again, or making snide remarks about coworkers. These are not emergencies. No one's going to die. So take a minute to think, one, is this already against some policy or standard that I've laid out for my team? And if not, what is the simplest possible way I can describe what is and is not acceptable in this situation? And then lay that out for the whole team. Two tricks I've picked up along the way. First, no matter how obnoxious the behavior was, focus on the future. If you didn't say that behavior wasn't acceptable before, that's on you. But as soon as you outline what is acceptable, if that behavior's not met, then you follow up immediately. And when you are outlining these behaviors, what's allowed and what's not, inform the whole team at the same time. It's going to feel more fair. The people that need to hear it, they'll know who they are. And the rest of the team will probably appreciate that you're dealing with a behavior that's likely been driving them nuts for a while. Mother Nature has her laws, and we've written those down. The U.S. has the Constitution. No reason you shouldn't have a place where yours are written down too. On my team, within the first 30 days, we start something. This is where we write down our rules and norms and standards and policies and procedures. On my current team, we call it our operations manual. It's a simple shared document that everyone can access. And then, anytime things get a little weird, you can ask yourself, was I clear about that? And go look at the document. Well, look at there. Yeah, I was. So there's no need for an awkward conversation. It can be quite straightforward. So you can see, most of these difficult conversations happen because you haven't been clear about your expectations. Don't put your team in that situation. Be clear about what you expect, and if that's not met, have a clear and frank conversation about it. When you do that, then your team is going to know exactly where the boundaries are. And they know where they get to learn, and experiment, and find new levels of performance. It's also when they'll find new levels of joy in their work. And that's when this becomes fun. Thanks for coming on this trip with me and investing in your leadership. Be well, do good work, keep in touch.